solve each equation. Okay, so before I go about using an identity, which we are going to do, so I'm going to move my identities back there. Okay. Before I actually apply my identity, I'm going to use a little bit of algebra. Notice that I have a sine 2 theta and then another sine 2 theta. Well, before I do anything, I want to combine those two together. So I'm going to add sine 2 theta to both sides. So let's see if I can do this. So I'm adding sine of 2 theta. I don't really have a theta, so I'm just using O. Okay, so sine of 2 theta to both sides. So I'll come over here and say, okay, I'm adding sine of 2 theta again. Alright, when I do that, it leaves me with 0 on the left side. Remember, if I have something equal to 0, that means we're usually factoring, which is exactly what we're going to do. I have the square root of 2. No idea how I'm going to write that out with this. We'll say, pretend that means square root of 2 sine of theta. And then I had minus 2 sine 2 theta plus sine 2 theta, so minus 1 sine of 2 theta. And actually, you know what? I'm just going to change those to x's. That makes way more sense. There we go. I don't have to worry about remembering that those mean theta. Alright. Now I can change this into my identity. And because it's sine, there's only one possible thing I can change it into, so that makes it easy to pick. So we got 0 equals, that still means square root of 2. Minus, gotta keep the minus on there, and then I'm changing it into 2 sine of x cosine of x. Okay, well, we're factoring, so what can I factor out of both terms? Well, if I look, I see they both have a sine in them, so we'll factor out sine of x. If I factor out sine of x, that leaves me with square root of 2 and minus 2 cosine of x. Set each part equal to 0, so I'm going to get 0 equals sine of x, and I'm going to get well, all of this. 0 equals square root of 2 minus 2 cosine x. Alright, well, let's think, when does sine equal 0? Well, sine equals 0 at 0, at pi, and then again at 2 pi, but we're not going to include 2 pi. So I'll come back over here. Need to solve this one just a little bit. Actually, I'll come up here and say, well, this one I would subtract the square root of 2, or I would just maybe add 2 cosine x to both sides and then divide by 2. Either way, I get cosine of x equals the square root of 2, square root of 2 divided by 2. Okay, and it would be positive. That's important. So when does cosine equal positive square root of 2 over 2? Well, that's my 45-degree angle one. So the first one is at pi over 4. The next 45 would be 3 pi over 4, but that would be negative for cosine because cosine is my x. The next one would be in quadrant 3. That would be 5 pi over 4. That would also be negative for cosine. And if I keep coming around, I get to quadrant 4, which would be 7 pi over 4. And that's the one I want, 7 pi over 4. Okay, so if I then put my answers in order, I come up with 0, pi over 4, pi, and 7 pi over 4. Alright, I'm going to get this out of the way and see what does that look like if we show their answers. 0, pi over 4, pi, 7 pi over 4.